8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 1, 3, 5.
Time to let 'em know who run the jungle. It's time to let 'em know who run the jungle. Time to let 'em know we run the jungle.
Hi, I'm Reve. So I'm a second year at Sydney, Sussex, doing geography. I mainly do cheerleading, as I let everyone know. I'm on like the varsity team for it, but other than that, I also do my geography society in my college and like the women in business a little bit. I'm not going to overstate that one, but yeah. When I first came, like, I didn't, this is really bad, but I didn't really understand a lot of the differences in classes before I came to Cambridge. And it's something I thought I understood. And then I realized through social interactions that I had no idea about certain things, certain mannerisms, certain things you shouldn't say. I think it hasn't, if I'm honest, it hasn't impacted me in a like aggressive way, but it's more about how I change in certain spaces, rather like just to fit the majority, like mainly white race and others. But I do think I'm able to connect to people here. I think people are open, like especially at my college. Like I haven't had like a terribly bad experience with anyone. So it's just more about how you navigate it for me. I think academically, it's a really heavily white area, and you kind of uh, either have to block it out or be really hyper aware of it. And I think I've gone the former way of like, this is it, and it's awful, even down to the scholars that you read about and not really seeing representation in that way. I grew up in London and I grew up mainly in West London, and there was a very strong African and quite spread out, also Caribbean first gen immigrants there. And I didn't really think about my identity that much. Then I came to uni, and the black community specifically is smaller, and that means that I think you notice differences a bit more harshly. And I think if you were someone like me who hadn't necessarily figured out your identity in this way, you were kind of learning on the go. My dad was very much ingrained in the Ivorian culture, like all his friends are Ivorian, only Ivorian food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, like rice for breakfast type of thing. But my mum was very conscious of trying to get me more integrated with British culture, of course. And also I think it was the fact that she moved with no family compared to my dad that had family. It meant that I had a bit of a mix. That hybrid nature of my culture was way stronger just before coming to uni. And it's something I'm kind of embarrassed about, but like I just didn't necessarily catch on to things as quickly. And also I just felt like I was being judged for not leaning into certain, I don't know, like societies or activities or anything like that. And it wasn't as a form of rejection. It was just because like it's kind of difficult going into places not knowing exactly how you're going to go about it. So I avoided it a little bit. If I was more aware of like my identity before I came to uni, I would have utilized the spaces that they gave me more effectively. But I think because alongside academics and trying to just generally navigate social spaces, that was like the last bit of my agenda. I sometimes ask myself, I'm like, am I feeding into certain tropes that I shouldn't? But I genuinely don't feel like I do. And I think that is reflective of my French group outside of race. Like, I have friends from all sorts of classes, all sorts of races outside Black race, and I'm like dating an international student. And I think all of those things, when you see it in a picture or you hear it from one conversation, you can make an interpretation of it in a political way, or saying like, oh, like she's one of those type of Black people. But it's really weird because I think it leaves you with like lingering thoughts about how tapped in you are with, like how tapped in you are. And like I genuinely, no, because I can't find the words. That's literally like, it would take a conversation for them to realize that. And I don't know, I have enough things going on in Cambridge. I can't really like fight that corner. And I think because my main priority is like surrounding myself with people that I really care about, that's like a second thought. But it's not one that doesn't exist. So mainly I do cheer and sport, and I think about Hawks. Hawks is a really interesting place to navigate. Hawks is like our sporting house, and it's where most socials and mainly into sport like events happen. And that was such a difficult space to navigate, because it was one thing to be welcomed by your cheer team, because like I know the girls on there, they're mainly white, but they're all really welcoming. I think it's like a wider ethos of cheerleading. But within Hawks and getting your Hawks card, which like lets you in, like once you have a card, taking the time to feel like validated in that space. I don't even have the words. Like, it's so difficult because it's two layered. It's me being Black and then me being a woman, and Black before a woman. It's crazy. I don't try and stray away from like sporting events or Hawks or anything like that because of this, but it's something I'm the most aware of out of all of my Cambridge experiences. Like academically, I don't notice it to that extent, or at my college or anything like that. But I feel like you wouldn't know unless you're involved in it. I think documentaries like this that highlight it is actually a really good starting point for really highlighting how we can make some differences depending on everyone's experiences that comes and talks to you guys.
I'll slide on any beat. Baby, it's a style, of course. The guys are by my side, so if you ride, we're gonna sky the doors. Nails around my neck, I'm losing breath. She wanna try the sauce.
Hi everyone, I'm Reece. Why are you laughing already? Hi, I'm Reece. I study at Lucy Cavendish College and I study psychological and behavioural sciences. Yeah, so outside of my degree, I make music. Yeah, shock. I make music, like rap music. And yeah.
Bro thinks that he's in GTA where he's whipping a car and he's only zooming. Public figure, I know man, Brilla, I dip from the blue ticks if I was.
And yeah, like I release music on like Spotify, drop videos on Instagram, things like that. And yeah, that's like one of my main hobbies.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your time in Cambridge?
Ooh. I think, I don't know, I would say like 8, 9. It's definitely been like, it hasn't been like dreadful, hasn't been boring, anything. Obviously the work kind of like lowers the rating for me because no one wants to work. But like, you meet so many different people here that you never thought you'd meet, and you actually can get along with them, which is sick. And yeah, just like the Cambridge experience, to say you go to Cambridge is mad. And just to walk through town, it's nice. The nightlife is not lit, but it's like... Freshers Week, first year, we all moved in like on the same day. And then Like they were having like a gathering in like our college like lawn garden thing. Like they just put it in like the main group chat. They were like, oh, we're all gonna meet each other, just like everyone link up. And I was going there thinking, all right, cool. There'll be like people who I spoke to in the group chat who were like from London and like ethnic. They'll be there as well. I ended up going down to the college lawn, and then none of them were there. Like just ethnic timing, it was probably just late or something. But got down there and it was just like loads of just white people. And I was like, okay, like, this will probably be fine. Like, everyone will be friendly. Like, we'll just talk. But obviously, initially, I was like, oh, this is going to be a bit intense. But then, I sat down and, like, it was very forced. But I feel like every freshers combos are, like, a bit forced. But I feel like I had to force it a bit more with them. And then, like, after we would exchange a couple words, it's like, okay. And then they would be, like, interested to just go and talk to their people. And then you would see, like, little groups forming. And I wasn't really interested in like trying to force into a group who I know I'm not going to be close with like later on in the year. So I just left and just did my own thing. So I felt like that I felt a little bit like isolated. But growing up in South London, like it's so diverse. Like especially where I live, it's people from every race, every culture. And obviously that's what I've become accustomed to. And then coming to Cambridge is like culture shock. Yeah. So it's definitely important, I think, to get that sense of familiarity of your home, but have that in Cambridge, by having like diversity and like engaging with those groups. It's not impacted my time here like negatively. Obviously, it affects like who feels more comfortable to approach me or like who actually wants to have a conversation with me. It's more so like other ethnic people that will naturally kind of come to you and like be more open to actually wanting to get to know you. But like that kind of barrier is broken down like over time, and yeah. So I don't think my time has been impacted too much. If anything, it's impacted it like in a good way, because it's just helped me like find people like me. Yeah. I've always had a strong sense of identity of like who I am. I don't believe in like morph into your surroundings. There's that whole thing where like if you go to like an institution like Cambridge, you should try and become more accustomed to their ways and like be more formal. I don't believe in that. Like that's like not who I am. I prefer to just be myself wherever. You can accept that if you choose to. And like in terms of my like racial identity, I've always had a strong sense of like my Indian culture. I try and find like-minded people here who have like a strong sense of their own identity. They're not trying to be someone they're not. Whether that be like they're sticking to their cultural identity, their racial identity, like, yeah, I try and find people like that. India Soc events, like the India Soc ball, they usually like end of the night there with like a famous like Indian song and like everyone's just dancing together, everyone's wearing cultural clothes. That is sick to me, like, and everyone's just happy. Those events are always good vibes. So I feel like those type of experiences stand out to me and like make me like they remind me like, wow, like this is my culture and this is actually celebrated and accepted in this uni, which I didn't think could be like a big thing here. If I didn't have like music here, it would be such a different experience. I feel like music is like made my time here so much better, like 10 times better. I came here thinking like there's no point even me just telling people about my rap or trying to rap, because I just thought, yeah, it would just be that or like classical. But then I was just actually blessed. I went to Freshers Fair. I spoke to a guy at the hip hop sock stall, Felix. I don't know if you don't know him, but yeah, and gave him my email. And then randomly, like one night, he emailed me saying, "Oh, we're starting like a jazz rap group and we need a rapper. Do you want to come on like audition?" And I was like, yeah, why not? And then got the spot, and then that band just kind of like took off and got booked. Just to like gain exposure, just to like develop my own craft, and even meet cool people. Like my first year, we did like loads of Maybells, and we got picked to like open up for like Rudimental at John's Maybell. So we opened up for them and I got to meet them, and it was really cool. Then we opened up for Khalees at John's, at Jesus. So it's just really cool, yeah. And it's just fun to like, you get into Maybells for free. It's just sick, yeah. So my expectations before I arrived was like obviously a very white, like middle class dominated place, and it obviously has like met my expectations because that's most of the people here. But coming into Cambridge, I thought there would be no one like me, which is really wrong. Because I got here and like instantly there was like 7 guys in my college. We just formed a group because like we were all ethnic, we were all from like London or around there, and we just got along. And then you meet people from other colleges, and there's loads of people like you. You just need to like know where to find them.
Hi, my name is Zia Britton. I am studying HSPS at Fitzwilliam College. I'm a final year student and I'm specialising in sociology and social anthropology. It's a lot of work and it's quite difficult at times. A lot of like spending time in the library and reading and like pushing yourself to think outside of what you've ever known. But I think that's the pride that comes with finishing. Like once you finish your year and then all the fun stuff comes, you look back and you realise like how far you've come in your year and how much you've learned. So yeah, I think this place pushes you to your absolute limit. But once you go past it, you realise like you really can do all of it. When I came here, specifically the Black community, I didn't know there was going to be as many of us as there are. And I know that sounds really strange because some of my friends are from like Camden and Brixton and some parts of London that, you know, they went to secondary school and there were so many Black and brown people. But for me, it wasn't necessarily the case. So I live in Kent. So coming here, and there's quite a strong Black community, I'd say at least, really supportive. So I think that exceeded my expectations for Cambridge as well. And also the college system. I go to Fitz and I really love Fitz. I think it harbours a really good kind of family energy for everyone in the year. And I thought maybe it would be a little bit more competitive in the sense that, you know, kind of when you just feel as though a space isn't good for you. I think the kind of stuff that colleges put on, like you've got college bops and like sports days and things, and even having like the JCR having welfare officers and everything, I think that's exceeded my expectations in the sense of like community that this place nurtures.
Yeah. How do you think that race has impacted your time here? Do you think it has? And like, has that been more or less than you anticipated that it would have?
That's a good question. I think just by virtue of being a Black woman in a predominantly white institution, you realise that when you're in certain rooms that you're the minority or you're the only one. And a lot of my friends have said that they felt as though, and I agree, sometimes when you walk into rooms, your Blackness is the first thing that people see, and then your womanhood, and then your personality and all of the things that make you an individual, which can be frustrating at times. And I guess it's something that we can't really escape. I think on a more positive note, though, race, being an ethnic minority in this place has allowed me to navigate it in a kind of unconventional way. One of the ways that I tried to make it a bit easier for myself and other Black girls and non-binary people specifically in Cambridge was to be a part of the founding committee of Black Girl Space, where race was kind of the central focus, race and womanhood and personhood. And I think it is race being the focal point has impacted my life here positively in communities like Black Girl Space because everybody has this one thing that connects all of us together. And then from that, you've got all these subsidiary like things that connect us, like personality traits or certain hobbies and things like that. So I think it's like a small like mini community within a wider community, within an even wider community. So I think in that regard, yeah, my race has impacted my time here in a positive way. I'd say the university can always improve. You know, it's a huge institution. And especially in the humanities, they are making an effort to include pieces of work from people of color, queer people of color, black women, whoever it is, so to try and diversify thought outside of like Hobbes and, you know, Rousseau and Foucault and everything. So I'd say a lot of the work is being done by supervisors and lecturers of color that are making a conscious effort to make learning in this place safe and like also receptive and diverse. So yeah, I'd say academically, like there is a way to go. There's always more that can be done. But at least in my experience, especially with certain supervisors that I've had, that have been like black women or queer people or just people that are open-minded, it's made it easier to discuss race and gender and the intersections between the two in academic spaces. A lot of the flowers have to go to the students that are making projects like this one, Black Girl Space, the Black Creators Festival, putting on certain productions in the ADC and the wider theatre community that are talking about race and talking about gender and talking about belonging, questions of imposter syndrome, black joy, queer joy, all of those things. So a lot of the praise.
Do you feel like there are certain spaces where you see everyone just coming together?
I think spaces like formal dinners and the traditional Cambridge things that you do, and you see people like you, and you don't see any type of separation, like literally across tables or in the same room, like celebrations, like Bridgemas and stuff.
I guess like, I guess like club nights, and I guess like the nightlife is not lit, but it's like it's still.
So at the end of terms and the May balls and stuff, I guess when like everyone's together, I feel like, okay, like we're all a bit different, but I don't stick out or anything, and those are really nice.